Yo, what is going on, everybody? Back here with another podcast episode. This is episode number 2, and like the last time, if you haven't seen part 1, it'll be on Sports Card Invest channel, which I'm going to link down below in the description. But this is part 2, and where we left off is talking about LeBron's athleticism. And without further ado, here is part 2 of the episode.
That's a bold take.
The bold take, yeah. I mean, but he does. At the end of the day, he's gonna slow down one day. He's already cemented his full legacy, and that's why I feel very comfortable investing in his cards. If he wins another, personally, I'm not expecting it. I think he has a good shot this year, but when I'm buying, I'm not betting. I'm not placing a bet that he's going to win a championship this year or anything. I just think long term, the card market, fractional ownership in the card market, you have dibs, collectible. I just think everyone now will be able to access a share of LeBron's Topps Chrome, and that alone is going to shoot up the price. If you look on dibs right now, there's people buying LeBron's Topps Chrome of shares of it with the market cap of $100,000, which I personally do not get. Like, why would someone buy into a share at $100,000 market cap? But that just goes to show the demand for people wanting to buy into these iconic cards. And you're going to see the same with, of course, Jordan's 86 Fleer, Kobe's, 96 Topps Chrome. But if everybody can now access these cards, can buy into a fractional share of these iconic cards, you're already seeing the crazy demand on these fractional ownership sites. I think that's personally a big reason why I've gone so hard into these. And then just the fact that they're, 23 grand right now when, I personally can see that reaching 100. I know his pop count is 2,000. Jordan's is 314. LeBron has his refractor. But I think this will be the fractional ownership card for him. I think this will be the card for him long term. Because refractors, in my eyes, are going to reach insane levels out of the reach for almost everyone. So,
Yeah,
for sure, that's so.
it's a buy for sure.
100%.
Definitely a buy. Definitely a buy.
So our third one on that was De'Aaron Fox, and De'Aaron Fox is someone I've been huge on since March. De'Aaron Fox is obviously, he's shown out in so many games. I know he's one of the other young stars that people are kind of avoiding right now. Everyone's kind of looking for these GOATs, looking for these players. But, at the end of the day, sports betting is humongous. Gambling in the market is huge. And De'Aaron Fox is just a young guy. His pop count is 2017 Prism, very low compared to Zion's year, compared to probably Melo's year. So I personally am putting it as still a buy at his current prices. And I just think he's going to be a bet that people start to place, as people did with Trey, as people did with Ja. I think he will go right into that bucket very soon. I know the Kings are not quite winning yet, but they have been steadily improving. They're, I think, borderline 10th seed. So improvement. But no, I'm definitely a big believer in Fox, long-term and short-term. He reminds me a lot of that Westbrook, Ja Morant type style. And he just isn't flat out not getting any love. I know the Sacramento Kings are not winning, but, he's going to build up his own brand, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, that's a tough one for sure, but I'm definitely a buy in the long term, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's looking, I was going to say, I don't really, in my opinion, I think De'Aaron Fox is Kunal's guy, or Sports Card Invest guy, because he always talks about him, even when we chat about cards. But I don't know, but by the way he says it, I guess, it sounds like a buy because of what it could be, right? Or what he could be when he develops his skills, or maybe
it doesn't even have to be, right? It's just speculation. If people can all of a sudden get on the wave and speculate, that's all I need, right?
Right.
I will not be buying De'Aaron Fox right now
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. Because
let me know.
Because I think that he's going to stay in Sacramento. They have no market. I think that his numbers that he puts are pump up numbers on a shitty team. That he plays on a team where he averages 24 points a game. On a
when
team
he's putting up these big numbers, they're actually winning. I think the last 4 they've won, and he's put up these big numbers. So at least
I like De'Aaron. I like him. I like De'Aaron Fox. I like his game. But at the end of the day, I think in the hobby, some people are trying to gamble too much on players. And then you start, it all becomes is that player liquid at the end of the day? is that player liquid? Because I grew up watching. What about Deron Williams? These guys, like on guys, and then after a couple of years, like you don't know who they are anymore, or they end up playing on a team where it's like, look at Kemba Walker. I mean, is De'Aaron Fox gonna have as good of a career as Kemba Walker? Kemba Walker got stuck on the Hornets his whole career. What happens if Fox gets stuck on the Kings? Like, is he that much of a buy?
Yeah, you make
Well,
a
I
very
think
valid
it
point.
is.
Not everybody's
Yeah.
gonna make it.
For sure. No, I definitely see that point. I just think nowadays, you don't have to be in that market. You just have to build that brand. And Fox, I think he's a gamer. He resonates with a lot of these young folks. And, he's just really fun to watch, right? Which Kemba, of course, he was clutch. Kemba had these things, but Fox is very fun to watch. And I think that's what kind of differentiates himself from many other of these, young, older stars, right? There's just more hype there, right? He's going to have these big games. He's explosive. He's a shooter. He's everything you can ask for any young star. And his game is already translated to wins. When he plays better, the team is winning. And that's a great sign for me in a young player. They've got Tyrese Halliburton, who just came in, who's looking very promising as well. So I understand the Kings don't have the best organization in terms of, ownership and the franchise in general is not an A-class franchise that I think could really hold him back. But we've seen Ja in Memphis make a name for himself. We've seen Trey in Atlanta make a name for himself. Of course, Sacramento is not. It's probably one of the worst markets in the league. However, I think
But Job made a name for himself. But look at the huge dip in his cards this year.
He got
still
hurt.
double the price of Fox.
Ja was also hurt for like most of the season. He's probably not the same.
Well, Zion,
I know,
too, he's been
but I'm saying like
incredible and
this.
his prices aren't going up.
That's what I'm saying to you. Like, I mean,
But I think the pop on Ja and Zion, I believe, is over 2x.
but how much is Fox going to go up? Like, what has he got to average? 27, 28 a game?
I mean, it just depends on if he could take the Kings to the promised land, right? Like, if he could just take them to the playoffs, then you could see his prices move.
He's got to worry about getting his team to 500 before he can take him to the promised land, though.
He's getting there.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's really just about speculation in the young market. And that's what I really look for in the young market. I'm not placing any long-term big bets. It's just I see right now with Fox's play, the market is going to react.
Very good quick, no doubt.
I think I mean if he can win, obviously that's a big factor in these card prices, right? But obviously the Kings, are the Kings, so they're going to struggle with that a little bit, but if they can move some pieces around and maybe get some wins there, then I think De'Aaron Fox's performances will actually be seen, by
maybe Vlade Divac didn't draft Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic, should be a different story.
I know.
Yeah,
but who would have known? Marvin Bagley,
I mean,
player.
No, I definitely, when I was looking at that Kings roster that year, I was like draft Trey or Luka at that point. Like when you're a team of that low status, you got to go for the next guy who has the potential to be the next Steph, the next LeBron. Can't go for that good big man who has some sort of ceiling. You got to go for the guy with the highest ceiling in my eyes. And so I was very disappointed about that. But in general, they've got a good young core. The Kings do. And De'Aaron Fox, if he puts up these crazy numbers, he's bound to get recognition. On what level, I'm not sure, but if he continues to put up these crazy numbers, we saw eventually the market react to Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal was putting up these numbers for so long, getting absolutely no recognition, and all of a sudden out the blue, he has a few big games and boom. Right? So I feel like Fox is getting on that track, and Bradley Beal's prices are insane. He's, of course, and the fact that Fox is still so young just adds so much more, speculation and hype around him. And that's personally why I'm a buy, but who knows? You may be right. Only time will tell.
Yeah.
For sure.
I love Tyrese Halliburton, too. I totally agree with you. They have such a good young core.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that just has to translate to wins now. But one other point I wanted to touch on was the trade deadline. And in general, when players move teams, we see just insane spikes in card prices. And our members have been able to, like myself and my members, we've been, being able to speculate these player movements, right? We were buying Oladipo for under 120 in a PSA 10. They jumped to over 350 at one point, just like that, from a Miami trade. Same thing with Aaron Gordon that we were buying. Just a bunch of these players right before the trade deadline. Andre Drummond, whose prices have just skyrocketed. So, of course, some of it comes from the collectors on the players' new team. So when Drummond, of course, goes to the Lakers, all these Lakers fans all of a sudden want a Drummond card to, celebrate their new player who's come in. But, that is another place where Harden was very similar, right? He was in Houston. All of a sudden, he gets traded to Brooklyn, and his prices just go insane, especially in these big markets. So how do you guys kind of approach that? Are you guys looking at these short-term opportunities, trying to go for these, trades, capture this quick money? Because I personally feel like it is a little bit higher risk. You have no idea if the player is even going to get traded. A lot of people stacked up on Lonzo Ball, on, of course, Kyle Lowry, and he never ended up moving at this deadline. But, the rewards there are just insane, and the risk is fairly low considering the prices won't really dip too much, considering, for a lot of these players on struggling teams, their price is already very low. But yeah, what do you guys kind of think of that strategy? And
personally, you go ahead.
Oh, for sure. Thanks. I was gonna say strictly with Andre Drummond because I like the Lakers. I was gonna say his prices were 300 to 350 before his trade was announced. And now today they've been comping at 650 to 700, which doesn't really make much sense to me. So if you can somehow predict that a player is going to go to a big market team and just capture that, then that's a good strategy. But I don't think it's a strategy you can really count on, because I think after like a few days of this hype of Andre Drummond, his prices are going to go down. Even if he performs well, I think it's just a spike and then it's gonna like just go down a little bit. And especially with Andre Drummond, like his numbers seem good, but I think they're pretty like empty numbers. Because if you look at if you look deeper in Andre Drummond, he's got one of like the worst, like he's one of the worst big men. If like field goal percentage wise, he's bottom ranked, and then just a few other like in terms of usage too, he's pretty high on usage, but his offensive output is not that great. And just a few other like advanced stats show that his numbers don't really reflect his play. So if he can somehow turn it around with the Lakers, I don't think his prices are gonna be like 700, but maybe like they'll shoot up from say 350
but it's still
before.
a crazy return if you got in right before the trade, right? And for him, it was quite easy to speculate he was heading to the Nets, Lakers, or one of those championship teams who need a big man, Celtics possibly, right? So I think in that sense, there's just a lot of short-term opportunity that I see. Of course, you don't have to rely on him being the player. I think now is, of course, the best time to sell Drummond. There's no point in holding him at $700 and at 10,
but yeah, it's like a strategy you can play on, but it's a little more gambling in my opinion, because if they don't hit the team that you think they're going to go to, then you're kind of out of that.
Yeah, there's definitely way more risk to it.
Yeah, so it's not for me.
Yeah, I mean, and my whole take on like spectating someone to be traded, like that's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson right now. People were buying when they thought he was going to the Jets. That guy might not even have a spot in the NFL anymore, and his cards weren't necessarily so cheap. So look at all the guys stuck holding the bag. I mean, for me, what Cinomatic just said about Drummond, I think he's a great player. I think he has a lot of pump numbers on playing on Cleveland. I think his cards are going to go back down to maybe like $200, and that's what happens. I don't buy on hype at all. That's how you get stuck with like these numbers on impulsive numbers. Honestly, like, I mean, if Andre Drummond is going for $700, I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, he's going to average on the Lakers 9 points a game, 10 rebounds. I mean,
Even that's generous because
yeah, that's
they don't even need him.
yeah. I'm trying to give him like, I'm trying to put the guys who bought it for $700 like a little bit of so they can sit a little bit comfortable with their investment. But that's like when you buy on the hype. When you buy a card and you see it and it goes just like this, and then you're stuck with it, saying one day it might go back to that because it was at $700, so it's at 150. Now it's at 300. One day it was at 700. It may never get to that number again. So I like to go and just like when it comes to an investment standpoint, like I can't go and guess on a trade because I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. From that's strictly gambling in my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a few successes. I probably bought around 7 in speculation. I believe 4 ended up panning out really well. 3 haven't really lost, haven't really gained. So in my eyes, it's just kind of obviously buying before the hype, obviously not buying with
Yeah,
the hype.
I mean,
When a player
it's
gets
like
traded, that's not the time to buy, of course. But if you're able to kind of predict that, if you're able to see that through with Drummond, I feel like it was a little bit easier. The Lakers were kind of his just front runner. It made no sense why he wouldn't sign with the Lakers in that sense, in that scenario. So I think for some of that, I know it's not the most like strategic investing. It's more so just seeing an opportunity, going for it, taking the risk, eating the risk, which is what I've kind of learned to do in some stuff. Just like, not having those expectations, but just like, you know what, I'm going to throw 1,000, high gamble, and sometimes they really pay off. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up, but no, I mean, it's definitely not a reliable long-term strategy that one can really place in the market because, trade deadline happens and now there's not much you can really do. But
Personally, I think if you have the money, I know we've been talking a lot about basketball, but baseball, Mike Trout, I just think that card is just going to be so iconic, and I think the only thing missing from Trout's resume is just him getting to the playoffs and him doing his thing. I don't know. I just think that price can go to the moon. I personally think Mike Trout's the greatest baseball player of all time. He just needs to be on a winning team, and he hasn't gotten that yet. But I think this is their year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a very
Baseball
undervalued
market,
card.
I've been taking a look at. I think there's the room for growth there is huge. I think generally basketball it's kind of been the face of this new, investor craze and has a global aspect. But I definitely see the merit in baseball considering that these young prospects in basketball are going for 500, $1,000 for their base, and for baseball they're going for you know fractions of those prices.
Exactly. Baseball is just starting to scratch the surface in terms of the hobby.
And I think the MLB just doesn't do a great job of marketing their players too,
Yeah.
because I don't think I think they like restrict a lot of branding for their players, right? Just in
so yeah,
general.
for some of it's like the guys like Acuna. I feel like he doesn't get as much love because he doesn't speak good English. So like people are not.
Yeah.
But even Trout on social media, he is like such a small fraction of like Kyle Kuzma, I believe, has more Instagram followers than Mike Trout. That's just because the MLB has just not done a good job marketing their players. They have not done a good job marketing at all with their content and everything.
Yeah.
And maybe just different demographic, but in general, these players aren't quite the icons. The old baseball legends, I feel, are the icons. The Mickey Mantles, the Derek Jeters, they're icons that everyone would know. But this day and age for baseball, to be honest, I don't know. Prices could be still going up because they're so low right now. But, just in terms of media, I don't see things ever reaching basketball.
Yeah, not right now, but long term, I think Trout is just extremely.
I agree with you.
People are gonna look back and they're gonna be like, "Wow, was this guy like really like playing? Like, how come we didn't even know about him? Like, it's insane. Like, he is putting up crazy numbers year in and year out. He already has like 3 MVPs. It's insane. He just the Angels have just not given him a good team. It sucks, but I think this might finally be the year that he'll reach the postseason and his prices might climb.
So my buys, I have like a couple buys right now. And then I would say, as you know, James Harden I'm sitting on his right now. I think RJ Barrett's a buy. I think the Knicks have a big market. They're fifth in the East. I don't think he's a long term, but I think like if you look at Tyler Harrow's numbers in the playoffs, I think Barrett could reach those numbers, and I think that he's drastically increasing every game. I mean, I'm a buyer in Justin Herbert. I'm a Charger fan, so I'm buying him just because I love the guy. So I've just been buying all of his cards. But my biggest, I would say, I mean, I still think Zion's a buy, but I think as soon as Giannis gets eliminated, I'm taking 20, 30,000 and I'm buying all of his silvers and stuff. I think that he's going to eventually get traded or get someone there. And when it's all said and done, I mean, the guy's in the NBA. I mean, Giannis has 2 MVPs right now, Defensive Player of the Year. I still think that I wouldn't buy him right now. But as soon as he takes a little bit of a dip, I think he's a buy. A guy who I would sell right now is Donovan Mitchell. I think he's priced out.
Buy for me, honestly.
I think he's priced
Leading
out.
into the playoffs, I think he's going to get.
I'm starting to believe in the Jazz a little bit too. I don't know.
I think he's priced out unless he wins a title.
I personally don't. I don't think he's priced out because he's one of the only young players who's been able to crack the code on how to win. I understand the Jazz have such a great team, great organization, great coach.
Has he cracked the code?
Last year,
I mean, they're the number one seed in the league.
Yeah,
dude,
he really showed out.
Dude, the bubble, him and Jamal Murray playing pick-up basketball like that during the bubble. I mean, come on. And he got knocked out in the first round. I mean, I like Donnie Mitchell, but like, I mean, he might end up facing in the first round like
Lakers, maybe. It could be the Lakers sleeping matchup in the first round. That's definitely why I probably wouldn't buy right now either.
I just wouldn't buy him because how much more could he possibly go up right now? How much more?
I mean, I think of the bubble last year, he went to over 500.
And that was also a bubble. Everybody was excited during a quarantine.
Yeah.
There's a correction now in the market where people are going to be strategically smarter. Unless Donovan Mitchell wins the West, his cards are going to go down.
I mean, definitely in comparison to other young stars right now, I'd say he's sitting a bit high. If you do compare him to guys like, Zion, I do think obviously his pop is a lot lower. But in general, I wanted to touch on the point you made about Giannis and how he's, obviously not being able to win. People fail to realize that even guys like LeBron spent the first 7 years of their career, maybe winning an MVP, or a few MVPs, and that's what Giannis has done exactly. But it takes, he has a long career ahead of him. He's been in the league for so long, but he
only 26.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been in the league. I think this is his 8th season, so he definitely. I believe he's gonna do something. I personally was so blown away when he signed that contract. I was like, "What are you doing? Like you're wasting your career." But the Bucks have made him a promise. If they don't make the promise, we see it all day. Players demanding trades, and if Giannis does get traded ever, if he does ever get that player, if he goes to a big market, like his prices can go so crazy. So that's definitely.
And he's got a low pop. He's
got a very low pop. Yeah,
it's what, like
not many different
3K, right?
Yeah,
I think he's a great buy too. I think that his loyalty is really what's going to make his prices go up so high. Like I personally think he will bring something to Milwaukee because I don't know. I just really believe that.
He's eventually, if he doesn't, he's eventually going to reach a point where he has to leave.
Exactly.
I wanted him to go to Dallas.
You can't count on anyone's loyalty, right?
I really wanted him to go to Dallas in the offseason. I wanted to see
insane for the card market. Lucas Giannis going after a championship.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with like if Giannis, because I mean he's most likely they're not winning the East, the Bucks, so his prices, when they're gonna go down.
Yeah.
They're gonna go down, and I mean, in the NBA, when you look at the guys like when LeBron is eventually gonna be out of the NBA soon. I mean, Giannis has won 2 MVPs already. I mean, at 26, it's impressive. I don't care if he's won yet, but like
Yeah,
it's impressive.
It's good this year too. Now that LeBron and Joel Embiid went down,
for sure.
he could very well sneak into that third.
If he,
Probably
yeah,
Jokic,
no,
right?
Yeah,
Jokic.
Yeah,
Jokic is
Jokic.
probably
front runner right
Jokic,
now, but
The NBA has a
not
stigma.
to make a good
They
case
don't
for
give
it.
three. The NBA
Yeah.
doesn't give three in a
Yeah.
row.
No,
They have a stigma.
I know that, but he's definitely a dark horse. He definitely deserves it. I think.
My man Harden's winning the MVP.
I don't know about that.
when KD comes back, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think we've
I don't know
ever
how
seen
he could win an MVP like on a team like
with
that.
yeah. I was gonna
don't.
say the same. As of now, yes, with KD out, with Kyrie been injured out, maybe, but when those guys come back, I don't think we've ever seen a team with 2, 3 superstars where a guy wins an MVP. Usually, we see MVPs from guys who are the sole star of the team, take a dirt bottom team to the
Well,
third
LeBron
or
won it
sixth
in
seed.
Miami both years, right?
Yeah, but that was I feel an exception.
Dude,
They don't give it to LeBron
it's
anymore.
either gonna be Jokic, who's probably gonna win it,
Yeah.
Harden or Lillard. I think are the three like
Yeah.
guys.
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, my personal top 3 right now for MVP, of course, Jokic.
Oh,
I think it's going to be very hard for them to give it to a big man, though. That's
that was
personal.
my point. I wanted to say to you, and I forgot on Fox.
Yeah,
Damian Lillard is Fox ever going to be as good as Damian Lillard? And he didn't get love on the Blazers for so long.
But now he did.
Yeah, exactly.
But now he did. Like this is like how many years has he been in the NBA? It's like how long?
Well, the market's been hot for
Like 2 years almost.
like almost 2 years, right?
But what I'm saying is, like people that are going to invest in Fox are going to be the younger kids because most older guys are not investing in De'Aaron Fox. So what I'm saying is those kids might not have the funds to hold Fox for that long and where he's going to be necessarily depends what you're buying. I mean, unless you're buying a base prism of his and you're going to look to make like a little bit on your returns. But I mean, I think Fox is going to be a great player on the Kings. That's like all I just see from him, like a 4-time All-Star at the end of his career, maybe 2 playoffs. And I know you like Fox. I don't want to like ruin like. But,
I like this discussion.
Yeah.
But I just like I don't see the. I don't know. I just don't like. If Damian Lillard can't, like at the end of the day, Damian Lillard is probably one of the best shooters of all time, and what his numbers are this year and what they have been, and his clutch in the playoffs. I just like, I don't know. Like, can De'Aaron Fox ever get to even that level?
The thing is, yeah, I mean, my personal play though is because he's the young perspective guy. I'm sure if Lillard was a lot younger and had that performance, his prices would have been 3-4x, right? Because just young speculation. It's not about whether Fox ends up being a 10-time All-Star, a championship winner. It's about the speculation. Luke hasn't done anything at the end of the day. Trey hasn't done much. Ja hasn't done much. Zion hasn't done much. Their prices are multiples of Fox. So that's like Luka's is higher than Lillard, right? And with the 15x, 30x pop count, right? And so many different rookie cards. It's that young player speculation. It's the people buying into the hype. And you can kind of take advantage of that in the market, in my opinion, whether it plays out long term or no. I just think the fact that he is so young and so good is going to get recognition. And, at the end of the day, I mean, look at any retired player, right? There's always going to be a premium for the current players, the current young players. There's going to be a premium just because people are buying into the hype, because people think this player has the potential to be this. We see when players have these big performances, oh, he's the next this, he's the next that. And that alone just drives prices up like crazy, as we saw from like March to August, just all the speculation in the market. And especially with sports betting, these guys throwing money in the market, right?
The bull effect,
That's
right?
kind of my vision for them. But
another thing is people don't really realize that most players primes are when they're like around 30 years old too.
30.
Yeah, so I think we
That's
still have a
not
lot of
20.
time for these modern guys who have the hype. So there's still time for it to pan out, right? But I think one issue is that they're already priced in as if they've won a championship and MVP, whatever, right?
Are there
So
primes though when they're 30 though? I feel like the decline. I was reading that it becomes 26 to 28 now is a decline in the NBA
I,
on a lot of players.
yeah, I mean, I started watching basketball in like 2007, and so I remember everybody saying most players are like 27 to 31. That's what I mean. It could change, obviously,
I
but
feel like I mean
feel it was
LeBron,
earlier
LeBron,
before. Now it's growing longer, or now it's growing older. Because players used to retire by like 32, 33. Now players are playing into their mid-30s.
I don't know. I feel like some players once they get the bag now they're like kind of like some guys will have that drive to keep going. Some guys are kind of like a little
content.
bit like content. They're okay like just doing what they do.
Yeah,
I guess
I mean-
that does depend kind of player by player. And we'll see. I mean, Fox already got the bag, and he's now starting to show out. So I'm not trying to make this like a Fox advertisement. This is
No,
but
dude, I get it. Listen, I don't mean to knock your Fox advertisement. I don't want to. I'm just going and speaking. I don't know the whole speculation
Yeah.
on sometimes it becomes too much speculation. Like when I hear like Michael Porter
100%
Jr.
agree.
and like
Yeah,
they-
no, I mean, we saw that earlier a lot more than we do now. It is definitely, I
Yeah,
will
I
give
mean,
you that one
people-
thing, right?
Yeah.
Now in the market, we've seen a lot more money turn in, a lot smarter investors, I'd say in general. I would say around even 8 months ago, right? We would see all this speculation. We'd see these Gary Trent Jr.'s Prism going to $98 for a
I
base.
mean,
and that,
people were buying like Keldon Johnson. Like his silver was
Keldon
one time
Johnson,
$900. Was
Yeah.
$900.
I remember that. Yeah.
The Bol effect.
The ball
Yeah,
ball
I mean-
effect.
Colin Sexton too, that one time, right?
Yep, Sexton had a run up.
But my point is the Sexton, the Fox. What is the Aaron Fox average this year? And Sexton
He's
averages more than Fox.
I
I
don't
don't think
believe
so.
that's.
No,
I don't think so. I think Fox is around.
Probably around 30.
Fox is at Fox averages 24.8.
Oh wow.
And what does Sexton average?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Low 20s, I think.
Probably borderline 20.
Right now he averages. I think it says 24.
Okay, pretty similar in numbers.
Yeah, it's
Higher
close.
pop count.
But Fox is
And Fox is in the West.
And-
that's their win. But
And
yeah,
Fox has played what, a year more than Sexton?
Yeah.
yeah, a year more.
I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
players average over 20 points now. I think it's like
I feel like it's not about that though. I mean, we see it
So-
with other guys. It's Fox. My play on Fox is just the hype builds up for him. The hype built up for Sexton, right? So all I need is that a few games. If Sexton got that recognition, got that price run up, I think his Prism jumped to around 350, 400 at one point. So considering that pop count, 2018 Prism at 400, 2017 Prism could be upwards of 550, 600 if he does get that run up. And the hype is starting. I see some price movements in Fox's cards, but
Yeah, he has like
I
4
guess-
games in a row now with 30+ points or something, right?
Yeah.
we might have
So
Gold
we'll
to
drop
come before
44.
we might have to
starts get-
revisit this Fox debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back for
Yeah.
another episode and
Yeah, but
when it
we've been
starts
here
pop off,
for-
and then we'll have another discussion.
we can
Nah.
look back on this for sure. But right now it's been an hour and a half, which I think is a good time to stop because it's pretty late for all of us, and I think we've had a pretty
Yeah.
good discussion so far. So I think with that, if we have any last words for this episode, no.
I
Okay.
think it was great. Thank you guys so much once again for
Thank you
joining
for
in.
having me
Thanks,
on, guys.
Jack,
I
Pete.
appreciate
Yep,
you guys having
yep.
me on.
For sure.
Good
But
discussion.
I think with that, we'll wrap up episode 2. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Follow Sports Card Invest channel to see part 1 of this episode. And subscribe to him too. And thanks you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you.